Hey everyone, Jason here from Leavitt Brothers. Elon Musk is buying Twitter for $44 billion cash and taking the company private. It's not uncommon for a private equity firm to take a large company private, but it's not often an individual person does this. Of course, Elon isn't an ordinary person. In most cases, a large investor would accumulate a big enough position to make some changes to the company in an attempt to unlock some hidden value, thus causing the stock to rally, leading to a big profit for said investor. But Elon has different motives. He pursues things he believes are good for society regardless of the finances involved. He would pursue things at a loss or things that weren't likely to play out if he truly believed it was worth a try. Money is not a motivating factor. So why buy Twitter? 44 billion is not pocket change even for him. And Twitter is not a wildly profitable company, so he's not going to get his money back unless he takes the company public again. There's one major reason. He believes free speech is a bedrock of a democracy, and he wants Twitter to be a digital town square where people can meet to discuss and debate important topics. And as of now, he does not believe Twitter is serving this function. This is the controversial reason, so I'll get back to it in a minute. First, the easy stuff that everyone can agree on. He'll get rid of the fake accounts, copycat accounts, spam accounts, get all people verified. He'll clean it up, add features, and put Twitter on a path to living up to its potential. But these are just incidental things he'll do. They certainly are not the reason he's buying the company outright. The larger goal, as I've said, is for Twitter to be a digital town square where people can meet to discuss and debate important matters, minus the censoring and filtering that currently takes place. This is the controversial part. This is the part that has some people cheering and others dreading what will happen. On one side, people believe in free speech, period. No political correctness, no obligation to be nice to anyone, no obligation to even tell the truth. You can say anything you want. The belief is to solve great problems, we need to be able to speak freely, even if it's uncomfortable for some. On the other side, there are people, and many Twitter employees fall into this category, who don't entirely believe in free speech. They believe in censored and filtered speech. They believe someone should determine what gets posted and what gets blocked. They believe someone should decide what crosses the line and where that line should be in the first place. And Elon doesn't like it. Elon wants open debate, even with the risks. The problem with the filtering that takes place is there are many things we believe to be true that will be proven to be false in the future, and likewise many things we believe to be false that will be proven true. Who gets to play God and decide what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is false? There was a time, after all, everyone thought the earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it. Then a guy named Copernicus came along and argued the sun was the center of the universe and all the planets revolved around it. He didn't suffer much because he died soon after, but Galileo was imprisoned and stood trial for believing the same thing. Of course, in time, they were proven right. In the mid-1800s, many women died soon after giving birth. Without getting into detail, a young doctor came along and argued that if doctors would wash and sanitize their hands and instruments before engaging in a birth, deaths would drop dramatically. This made doctors furious, so the young doctor eventually lost his job, and all his attempts to convince doctors in Europe to wash their hands failed. No one would listen to him. Of course, now we accept clean and sanitized hands, and instruments are an absolute must. There are thousands of these examples in history, and it happens all the time on Twitter. Someone comes along and disagrees with a commonly held belief. Should that post be filtered and blocked? 2 points. As I've said, many commonly held beliefs will be proven wrong in the future. There are things you believe to be true that will be proven wrong. And just because someone is older and wiser and has a lot of experience in the field doesn't mean he or she is correct. There's a saying in science that science progresses one funeral at a time. The longer quote from Max Planck is, "A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it." There's a reason most Nobel Prizes in science and math are awarded to people who made discoveries in their 20s and 30s, not older people who have biases and are not willing to contradict a lifetime of research. And this puts us in a weird position. We don't know what's right and what's wrong. We don't know the truth. Some things we believed to be true will be proven false in the future, and vice versa. But Twitter allows gatekeepers to decide what gets posted and what gets blocked. The cure for cancer could be blocked by a software engineer who thinks it's dangerous for a young researcher to post something that is contrary to currently held beliefs. It's not an easy situation because in order for the controversial post from the 25-year-old cancer researcher to take place, we have to accept there'll be false flags. But if you filter everything, the cure for cancer might remain hidden because it might be controversial. Elon knows this. He knows that in order for us to have difficult conversations and solve major problems, feelings will be hurt and there'll be some stuff out there that's not true and outright dangerous. But that's the price you pay. He believes it's better to accept some crap in order to find answers. And since no one knows what is true and what is false, he'd rather let everything through than risk filtering something important. It's a difficult situation. Technically, we have free speech, but should users be permitted to incite violence by rallying troops to commit a crime, or should users be able to flat out lie? Where do we draw the line between an outright lie and an educated opinion? We've seen it with COVID the last couple of years. Some say get vaccinated, others say we don't know the long-term effects of vaccination, so we'd all be wise to lose weight and take a vitamin D supplement instead. Is there room for both? What if the vaccination suggestion was spoken by a medical doctor and the other spoken by a non-medical person? Who's right? Is there room for both statements? There's a lot of evidence that most popular journals just cite each other in a kind of back-scratching exercise, while the most important articles that stand the test of time are largely ignored. David Epstein talks about this in his book Range. In Elon's world, he doesn't want censorship. He doesn't want gatekeepers. He's willing to accept some garbage to make sure the hidden gems don't get blocked. It's not easy. I personally like the idea of Twitter being a digital town square where ideas can be discussed and debated, void of censorship and political correctness, but I recognize how gullible people are and how idiotic they can behave in groups. What do you think? Post in the comments below. Are you okay with an occasional false flag or outright lie in exchange for bringing light to a great idea? Or would you prefer to have comments filtered and risk the solution to a major problem not making the cut? If you think everyone should get to post anything they want, are you willing to accept the consequences? Or if you believe gatekeepers should be in place, who gets to play God and make those decisions?